The old adage says that a picture is worth 1,000 words or 10,000 words. Anyway, a picture is definitely worth a lot of words. And I thought what we would do next is kind of expand on our interview with Bill Fry. He's a terrific guest, and his book, Diversity Explosion, is just packed full with information that's really relevant. Bill also wrote an article around the same time his book got published, and it's basically showing the 10 maps that he says are most relevant for the 2016 election. I'm pretty sure all of these maps are part of his book as well. So what I thought we'd do is take the conversation we just had with Bill and then reinterpret it now for you in the form of some of these maps and graphs that he says are the most important for the 2016 election. We're going to try to work with some new technology, not new to you, but new to me. And instead of going to the whiteboard, we're going to work off the screen and see if between my clicking buttons and moving the mouse around, we can adequately describe and discuss these maps and graphs. So let's give it a shot. So the first graph here you can see is called Cultural Generation Gap, Population Composition by Age and Race 2010. And again, this is coming, I'll show you down here, from the 2010 census. And what you can see here is Bill's got age groupings. Under 5 is at the top, 15 to 17, and then the lowest at the bottom here is 85 plus. So these are age groupings. And then you can see from the colors, the orange relates to the whites, this maroonish color is blacks, this teal blue Asian, maybe teal green, I don't know, I'm looking at a lot of teals to me here, is Hispanics. A yellowish color is other races, 2+ races, and then other races. I think mixed in here must be some Asian. And this is the demographic that Bill was talking about, that right now, from the 2010, if you looked at the grouping, 51% of that population is white, and then 25% is Hispanic. If you take that down to the 85 plus grouping, we have 85% is white and only 5% is Hispanic. So what you can see happening here is the orange bars get shorter, which is the white grouping, and the green bars get progressively larger. What's interesting to me, and I hadn't realized before, is the black population shift is not really that significant. It is only 77% of the 85, 9% of the 65 to 74. But down here it's 14%, 14%, 13%, 12%, 11%. So the black percentage is fairly consistent. But what this is showing you, and we talked about in the interview, as the population is aging, or conversely, as the population is being born, there is less population that is white, and then significantly more population that becomes Hispanic. So these are some critical demographic points, again, in the form of a chart. Try the next one. Here, we've got a chart called Minority Percent of Children Population 2010. Now this is pretty much taking the same numbers that we had before, but it's going to show you the geographic distribution. So down here in the darker blue, it says over 50%. So in the states that are darker blue, over 50% of the children population in 2010 is going to be minority. And then the lightest blue is when they're under 25. So you can start to see this geographic phenomenon he was talking about, where from California, Nevada, all the way down through the south here pretty much, all the way down into Mississippi and Georgia and Florida, that's where you have these very large minority children populations that, as we grow into 2020, 2030, et cetera, are going to begin to dominate. Let's take a look at the next graph. I hope you can see this because these maps are a little smaller, but I hope the colors are bold enough. What this is called is minorities as a percent of eligible voters. So the last maps were just going by population, but here we're going by eligible voters. But I think you can see again that the dark blue, being where there's 35% or more minority, that's the same pattern throughout the South here. And then the areas where the least amount of minority, you've got here in Iowa and West Virginia, and then the second least amount of minority you have, I'm going to call the northern Midwest here, the Dakotas, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. So again, it's not just as important to know the population percentages and the breakdown of the groups, it's important to know where they are. Now, as we mentioned, There's a significant minority population here in this grouping, primarily South. The next map below us here is going to break this out by minority groupings. So again, we know where the minorities are now growing in population and controlling the demographic growth. The green here is going to be the Hispanic, and the brown is going to be the blacks. Tan says neither. It's kind of hard to read. So you can see that the dominant majority of the minority populations, the green is more to the west, and the dominant minority, where it's black, is going to be to the east. So once again, these maps are showing not just percents of populations, but they're showing geographic distributions. Let's take a look at our final maps here. This is giving you a breakdown of elections results. So states won by Democratic and Republican candidates. And this is looking at 2004, 2008, and 2012. 2004 being the top map, 2008 being the middle map, and 2012 being the lower map. Now here the colors are going to show victories, but they're going to describe victories in the context of minority participation. So the darker blue, I don't think you can read it, I'll read it for you. It says Democrats win, but it's due to whites and minorities. So again, due to whites and minorities. The next one is a lighter blue, which says Democrats win, and that's due to minorities, but not whites. So the minorities have totally tilted the result for these Democratic wins in these populations. And then the last one is Republicans win. Now what's significant about the Republicans win, and this is what most of the demographers are trying to study right now, is if the Republicans do not figure out how to capture minority votes, you can see that as you move on to the future, their electoral successes are just going to obviously shrink, absent some very skillful map drawing. So the middle ground seems to be the Hispanics, and the middle ground would then probably seem to be the states where the minorities are controlling, or perhaps maybe the states where the whites and the minorities together are controlling. So let's now go back to 2004. You can see all the red here, and this is dominated by Republicans. Now this was a Bush victory, so that may have something to do with it as well. And then you have the states where the minorities influenced the Democratic victories, and that was Oregon, California, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, Delaware, and New Jersey, and I believe Delaware. So those were the key battleground states, I think, 2004. Nice shift to 2008, which was the Obama victory. And again, you have some states that minorities made the difference. Nevada is a new state, and what's interesting is that now has gone Democrat from Republican. It's a new state, and minorities have made the difference. You have New Mexico. This has also gone Republican to Democrat, and minorities have made the difference. Florida, it's gone from Republican to Democrat, minorities have made the difference. And you've got Virginia and North Carolina. So significant shifts, and significant shifts because of minorities. Now 2008 was the Obama year, and I know the blacks significantly voted for Obama, but out west here you still have two states that are dominated by Hispanics, New Mexico and Nevada. And then we get to 2012, again an Obama victory. This time, and maybe this is one of the more interesting things of all, California still went Democratic, but now California went Democratic, and it went Democratic because of the minority vote. Because of the minority vote. So you can see the shifts. Shrinking red, increasing blue, and then particularly in 2012, increasing blue where minorities are making the difference. California, Illinois is another state, used to be my home state. In 2008, Illinois won because of minorities and whites together for Obama. 2012, that differential was mostly due to the minority vote. So, as I said in the beginning, pictures are worth 1,000 words or 10,000 words or however many words, but I think when you listen to Bill Fry, you understand demographics, you understand where they're going, and then you look at the pictures, you can see where for the next 10, 20, 30 years, there's going to be dramatic shifts in age, dramatic shifts in race, and then very dramatic shifts in geography. And all of these are going to make a big difference in how in our political landscape and the results of our elections. Definitely worth our attention, definitely worth our study. Thank you.